Let's just be real. And I strongly believe that for most social sellers or direct sellers that are out there today, one of the biggest challenges is that we don't have a big enough audience. Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. Becky here with you. I am super excited to be here with you today to talk a little bit about social selling for long-term success. Now, social selling has been a buzzword that we have heard over the last couple of years used a little bit more. And I thought today I would really unpack what it means to be a social seller, what kinds of activities you're engaging in every day, what your business looks like, and how it might feel a little bit different than a traditional sales experience. So super excited for you to join us and dive into this episode. Today's a great day to grab your iced coffee and come join us on a social selling adventure. As I said, social selling started as this buzzword, right? We kept hearing, oh, I'm a social seller. I do things differently. I do social selling. And for a long time, even for me, I was like, what are they talking about? What are they doing? And for those of us that have been in the industry for a while, it's actually not that much different than what we've been doing forever, which is building relationships and connecting with people directly. But it's doing it in a bit more of an intentional way and typically a one-on-one conversation in social selling versus group sales, which might be like an in-home party or a Facebook party or selling in a Facebook group. To a lot of people, social selling is typically one-on-one. And I think the mystery of it, or the kind of the confusion of where social selling really stemmed from, is you don't really see what people are doing. You don't really see that, right? Because those conversations, that one-on-one that's happening, is happening directly in their direct messages or in their personal messages or in their text messages. It's not happening out there where everyone can see it on social media. In fact, I would argue that oftentimes in social selling, you're seeing somebody post the exact same or very similar type content as you on social, but maybe they're getting completely different results. Maybe their sales are through the roof and yours are like meh. What's probably happening there is a lot of social selling happening in the background, right? It's happening in the background. It's happening in those private messages. You can't see how hard they're working it in their DMs, how much follow-up they're doing, how many conversations they're having each and every day. And I think that's a little bit of the mystery of social selling, or a little bit of the missing link. Oftentimes when somebody's brand new to direct sales, they're getting started and they're thinking, I'm doing all the things. I'm posting, I'm sharing content, I'm watching what my leaders are doing or what my sideline sisters are doing. And I'm essentially doing exactly what they're doing, but they're getting these big results in their business and I'm not getting any action at all. And again, that missing piece is the social selling, the individual conversations. But I want to back it up even a little bit further, right? We know that to make the sale in a social selling kind of conversation, you're going to be doing that one-on-one. But before we get there, we have to have people to talk to. Let's just be real. And I strongly believe that for most social sellers or direct sellers that are out there today, one of the biggest challenges is that we don't have a big enough audience. Or we have an audience, but we're not engaging with that audience. So let's just back things up and first talk about how to build an audience on social media so you have a really highly engaged group of people that you can engage with one-on-one in the direct messages and actually make those sales happen. Sound good? All right, perfect. Let's dive right in. So first off, let's think about building that audience in social selling. First, we need to know where to go. Where are we building that audience? Are you building an audience on Instagram? Are you building an audience on Facebook? Are you building an audience on TikTok? Are you building an audience of people that are coming to check out your website? There's lots of different places that we can build an audience. And as we're thinking about where to build that audience, it's super important to identify who the audience is. And I think one of my maybe pet peeves that I hear all the time in direct sales is anyone that wears bracelets is my audience, or anyone that wears clothes is my audience because I'm selling clothing, or anyone with skin is going to need my skincare products. And that may be true. When we're building an audience, we're going to be most effective in reaching that audience if we can speak to them directly. So this really requires a little bit of homework about who you want to reach. Who is that target audience that you're working to connect with, and what are their unique needs? And so you can provide a unique solution to the challenges that they're facing. So rather than saying anyone with skin, you might want to identify women that are between the ages of 40 to 50 that have kids that are in school, that live in this particular neighborhood, that have oily skin or are starting to be concerned about wrinkles and aging, and also really value clean beauty and want a simple skincare routine. Okay, you see how that's totally different than just saying we reach anyone with skin. So first, once we decide who that target audience is, it gives us a little bit of a better idea of where to go to reach that target audience. Now, of course, we're not going to turn away people that are outside of that specific niche, but we are going to have much better content. Our content is going to perform at a much higher level. We're going to get way more engagement if we know who we're talking to and we're specifically speaking to their needs in particular versus just speaking super broadly. Make sense? So once we know that audience, let's think about where they are, okay? All right, women ages 40 to 50. Let's say that their spot to hang out is Instagram, and that's the platform that you're really choosing to build on. So once we know the platform, once we know the audience, then it's really creating that consistent content. You're building your brand on social. So you become a trusted, reliable source for all things skincare, or all things fashion, or all things in your product line. You want to be the go-to person for those people. So we want to have that really consistent content. You might want to create a posting schedule. And this is something that comes up all the time. People are like, where do I post, and how often do I post, and what does that look like? I would do what you feel is manageable, right? So if Instagram's your spot, maybe you're saying that you're going to go post 3 reels every week. You're going to post a static post every week. You're going to post in your stories every day, and you create a very clear checklist for yourself about what you want to accomplish on that platform in terms of consistent posting on the regular. Because as you're creating that content, that's going to draw in more and more of your audience. They're going to choose to follow you, right? Fabulous. We got new followers. Once we get a new follower, a hot tip here in the social selling space is when somebody follows you, send them a quick message that says, thanks so much for the follow. You can try this with me. I do it for every new follower. If you're not following me over at Modern Direct Seller on Instagram, go do it now, and I will send you a message probably in the next 24 to 48 hours that says, thanks for the follow. It's very simple, but it opens up a direct conversation with that new follower. And that is the beginning of building a relationship as a social seller with your new followers. Okay, so we have consistent content. We're offering incredibly high value. You're speaking their language. It's very targeted to create that engagement, right? With clear calls to action on your posts, people are commenting, people are liking, people are responding to your stories. All of that fosters engagement. Once you have that engagement, it's a lot easier to continue that conversation one-on-one and really build a relationship from there. Now, let me back up a tiny bit here. So I love social selling. I think that it's here to stay. I think it's the way of the future. I think it's one of those things that really differentiates what we do in direct sales and that we do really well outside of any other industry. We know how to talk to people. We know how to build relationships. We know the value of that. So now that we know that, and that's important to us, we can be really intentional about it. While we're intentional, let me just say, social selling doesn't happen overnight, right? This is not just like this week I'm going to be a social seller and I'm going to create good content and people are going to follow me and then I'm going to ask them to buy my things. That's not really how it goes, right? It is going to take time It is going to take work. It is going to take being intentional and showing up even on those days that feel hard to show up, or you don't know what to post, or you don't want to be there. Still showing up and being intentional on that account to connect with that audience. So it's not necessarily the fastest route to success. If you want a little bit faster, you're going to start with people that you already have built a relationship with. You're already connected to on social, and then you layer in and you introduce your products. In social selling, it could take sometimes days, weeks, months, even years sometimes to really build a relationship with someone. I can't tell you how often people tell me, hey, I've been following your podcast for years, or I've been following you on social for a long time. And I don't even realize that I'm building that relationship with them. Now, I have an opportunity there to be proactive and to connect with them directly in the DMs to really build that relationship. And that's what you're going to do as a social seller, because they're there and they're engaging with your content. So the better content you create, the more you can speak their language, the more people you're going to attract to follow your account. And then the hard work begins. This is really where you get to move into that one-on-one conversation. And there's some ways you can do this in a really proactive way. It might be responding to their stories and commenting on their content. One thing I love about going to their content is what they're sharing is what they're passionate about. Of course, you want them to engage with you because you have really great things to offer as well, but let's start with them first. Let's make it about them. Connect with them, comment, respond, engage with their content, and they're going to naturally reciprocate. They're going to say, oh, she's been commenting on my stuff. I should comment on her stuff. A little bit easier to foster that conversation in the direct messages once you've really got that conversation started. So when it comes to social selling, that's all in the first phase of things, the relationship building phase where you're getting to know someone. This is not all business, by the way. If we were only talking about products and business, people would tune us out. We're sharing a little bit more about our lifestyle, what we love to do, how we love to connect with people. And then there's the baby step. The baby step into inviting them to learn more about your business or your products. And some of you have a very clear baby step. Maybe you're directing people to a quiz. Maybe you're asking if you can send them a link to check out your catalog. Maybe you're inviting them to an opportunity event or a workshop. Whatever you're doing, you're not sending them straight to a link to shop. You're building that in with a little bit of a baby step so you can get to know them better. And then after they've checked things out, this is your opportunity to actually ask for the sale. So in the social selling arena, this is your opportunity to step right up and say, hey, can I get that ordered for you? Or did you take a peek at that? I know that you were interested in it. I'd love to add it to the order that I'm putting in on Friday. Or can I get that taken care of? Are you ready for the link to go ahead and buy that? This month we have a great bonus. You're also going to get something else for free, right? So you can figure out what that looks like when you're actually asking for the sale. And then the next step when it comes to social selling is after they've made that purchase to really own that relationship. And I've talked a little bit about this on previous podcast episodes, but specifically when we think about the affiliate model that we're hearing so much about, you often don't own that relationship with that customer, right? So that means that the company owns the relationship. You're simply just directing them to a link. In a traditional social selling, direct sellers mindset, you own that customer relationship. So you get to support them. You get to check in with them. You get to ask, hey, did your order arrive okay? Okay, did you like it? Let me give you some ideas. Maybe they need a recipe to go along with it. Maybe there's a product tip or a hack that they need to know. Maybe there's some complementary products that are naturally next for them to purchase as well. So being a social seller, you're not only talking to people when they start following you, which might feel like top of funnel if you're familiar with funnels, right? Or when they're actually making a purchase, more at the bottom of the funnel, but it's also maintaining that relationship and creating lasting conversations and relationships with your customers by continuing to serve them after they made the purchase as well. So again, this might be following up, asking, hey, are you ready for more? If you have a consumable product, they might be ready for a refill. They might be ready to replace it. They might be out of it. So you're continuing to foster that conversation, caring more about them than just the business, just the sale. Of course, we're sprinkling in some personal conversations along the way. So in social selling, you're spending a lot of time creating content, but you're spending even more time creating conversation related to that content and having one-on-one conversations in the direct messages where you can learn more about them and learn how you can best serve them. So an additional bonus tip that I want to leave you with before we wrap up today's episode is really just the power of social media, right? You're able to reach people all over the country, all over the world through social media, which is pretty powerful. But social media is really meant to be social. So it's important to foster those conversations, but also not be shy about baby stepping into a sale, asking for a sale, and continuing to serve that customer long after they've made their first purchase with you. There's also what I like to call the halo effect of social media. When you're sharing content on social media, you have the ability not just to reach your customer and your direct followers, but those that are in their network as well. One really great strategy is to ask for a testimonial about what they love about the products they've purchased from you. Tag them on that, collaborate with them, put that in your stories so they can reshare it in their stories, add it to your feed, and so they can add it to theirs as well. And you have an opportunity to have this lift or this boost in social content because you're collaborating and you're connecting with your customers in order to reach their network as well. This works beautifully on Facebook, on Instagram, and it gives you just an extra lift in content. You never know when somebody is going to tag their friend on your post or share your content with others. Make sure, of course, that your accounts are public so things can be shared and discovered, but also be intentional about, hey, thanks so much for your order, and shouting out that customer, tagging them in it so they can reshare it with their network and you can continue to multiply and grow your following on social thanks to social media and the ability to tag in others in the content. So that's another tip just to think about as you're showing up consistently on social. What kind of testimonials can you grab? What kind of shout out posts can you do? What kinds of things can you put out there that's just going to elevate your content, give it a little bit more visibility outside of your immediate social following so you can attract other people into your following? So to recap, as you're thinking about stepping up your social selling game and really looking at finding some long-term success in social selling, think about where you're building your audience, who is a part of that audience, how you're going to reach them. Be really intentional about how you're showing up, and so you're consistent, providing high value content, and also own that relationship from the time somebody starts following you all the way through after they've made their 10th, their 12th, their 15th purchase with you. You're going to continue to maintain that relationship with that customer. Social selling is not necessarily easy or the fastest way to grow, but I truly believe that there are so many opportunities available to us if we're intentional about how we're showing up with the content that we're putting out there and spending a lot of time in those direct messages. That might be a habit you have to get into. I know it is for me. I get in the mood where I'm like, okay, I'm going to message a bunch of people, or I'm going to have a lot of conversations today. And then maybe I don't do so much for a couple of days. Then I get back into it. But you have an incredible power to be able to reach so many more people and do it in a very personalized, high-touch way, which is just going to keep people coming back for more and referring you out to their friends as well. So with that said, I am so excited for you to spend a little bit more time hanging out on social, not just scrolling on social, but actually being intentional with your social selling. We have a social selling checklist that I'm happy to share with you. We're actually going to be providing it inside the workbook that we're delivering at our Future Proof Your Biz 5 strategies that actually pay off. And spoiler alert, social selling is one of those strategies. We're going to include that in the workbook. So if you want that checklist, Definitely save your seat for our workshop coming up on August 28th. It's at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. There will be a replay. The workbook will be emailed out ahead of time. I would absolutely love to see you there, and you can save your seat for the workshop over at moderndirectseller.com/workshop. So until next time, I hope you get out there and make it a great day. I can't wait to connect with all of you soon. See you back here next week. Bye. We are proud to welcome CinchShare as the newest sponsor of the Modern Direct Seller podcast. CinchShare is the #1 most trusted social media platform for network marketers, direct sellers, affiliates, independent consultants, virtual assistants, small businesses, and creators in any industry. Start your 30-day trial today with coupon code GAMECHANGER and spend less time posting and more time socializing.